Okay, what are we doing today?
Skillet, come on, let's go. We'll be right back.
Wait, guys.
What?
Oh, come on, baby.
Manpower, go.
Why? The show looks like it was drawn by a 4-year-old with muscle atrophy, and written like someone in the process of having their brain fried by heroin. I've watched several episodes of the show, and I'll tell you what, my fever dreams have more coherent plots. I've had paranoid delusions with better humor. I could draw better with my feet. The only reason the show wasn't on my worst of 2000s list is because I barely considered a show. Like, I barely considered animation. And it's one of the most popular shows that I've ever given a negative review to. Or at the very least, it has a cult following like Invader Zim or Duckman. And the fans probably think that I hate the show purely for its art style.
You should take off your shirt.
What?
Just lie down in the bed. Okay, and roll camera. And action. Come on, get on now.
Although this is a comfortable bed,
Kiss it.
I can promise you that that's not true, but I do have to talk about the art style. It's going to prove a huge distraction if I don't. Now, the cited reason the show looks like this is because of budget issues. Many Adult Swim shows claim that they need to have a cheaper looking animation because of budget constraints. You know, like those Hanna-Barbera cartoons of the 70s that look better than this, or the Flash-based shows in the mid-2000s that look better than this, or anyone who's animating on the internet who looks better than this. I mean, Flash was developed almost entirely to make animation cheaper, before this show came out. What program were you using? Adobe Fart? Do you know why most internet animation done with little to no budget looks vastly better than 12-ounce mouse? That's because budget tends not to determine character design. Do you know what it takes to get a good character design? Some talent, a piece of paper, and a pencil. Is time a problem? The show isn't like South Park where they write it a week before it airs. They have plenty of time, and they really don't do any of the pulp culture shit. Remember the early Simpsons shorts on the Tracy Ullman show where Matt Groening used drawings he made in like 5 minutes? Even they look better than Osmo here. I'm gonna get into the show now, but there is no way I can talk about it without the animation continually creeping back up here. I mean, it's a cartoon. Animation is a very important part of a cartoon. But, as they say, beauty is only skin deep. Let's see the more in-depth stories that this show can tell with its limited animation. After all, both the works of Don Hertzfeldt and South Park have terrible animation, but they manage to be good in spite of that. This is a legitimate question. Do you need to be high or drunk to actually get anything out of the show? It's a legitimate question. But back on topic, the title sequence shoots another hole in the budget excuse. If you could afford this many pyrotechnics, you should be able to afford some kind of art. The first thing that happens is a mouse crashes a plane into a telephone pole near a place offering jobs. I think. I told you these animation problems are gonna come back. Yeah, I can't tell what most things are supposed to be. At a bare minimum, your animation is supposed to differentiate what everything is. Without it, I may as well be hearing a radio show while staring at my refrigerator. I get just as much necessary feedback. Oh boy, this is gonna hurt, but let's see if the writing stands a chance. The mouse walks into an office, I think. He talks to what I think is a shark about getting a job. Meanwhile, there's a clock that keeps ticking over everything. I'm told that this is supposed to be funny.
Do something.
I am. I did.
What
It's
did you
already
do?
done.
Are people just being sarcastic when they say that this is a really deep and funny show? Is it like some big joke that I'm not a part of? Or once again, do I need to be stoned off my ass? The main joke here is clearly the clock, and it's not remotely funny.
What did you do?
I helped you.
Are you drunk?
You see, the point of animation is to convey what's happening to the audience. You have conveyed nothing! Explaining why this is a wrong move is kind of like explaining why not having frame-to-frame continuity is a wrong move. Without it, you're technically not even a part of the media. And no, I don't hate minimalism. This is minimalism, used correctly. This is lazy garbage. Oh, postmodernism. This is gonna be fun. Postmodernism is a very difficult thing to talk about because there's no agreed upon definition. Bad postmodernism tends to look like this, though. The philosophy exists to challenge certain structures, rather than to be something in and of itself. To truly understand 12-ounce mouse, we need to ask what it represents. Despite my reputation, believe it or not, I don't like doing this, because I almost always find the work tedious and pretentious. And postmodernism always has that cheap cop-out that if it's done badly, they say that it's a commentary on postmodernism itself. Let me stop that train of thought right now. If this is a postmodern commentary on postmodernism, it's saying that postmodernism is an excuse for lazy people to be pretentious in their laziness and lack of skill. Alright, let's start with the obvious, having less of an art style. What is this postmodernist work? Tell us about the importance of having good art in your cartoon. Well, if you don't have one, your work will look like shit, but people will still defend your show on the basis that you're not looking, like, deeply into it, man. Alright, to be fair, I don't think the 12-ounce mouse here is trying to question what is necessary to be a cartoon. And this is why I really don't like postmodernism. It often comes off like speeding through a school zone to question why speeding is against the law. If you're devoted to it, it's going to cause a messy disaster. And most people can see why these things are in place. Postmodernism's purpose is to show that there are no universal truths. Mostly in art, I hope. I mean, there's a full philosophy about it, and that might require a full video, but I mean, if you believe that you can build a building any way you want, and you think it won't fall down, you're a moron. If you believe that art can be made in any way you want, and people won't despise it, you've obviously never seen Freddy Got Fingered or Serbian film. But I'll give this show the benefit of the doubt and address 12-ounce mouse on its own terms. It can be one of two things. It's either data art, which I refuse to take seriously. Data art is the high culture equivalent of calling someone names on the internet. Or it's postmodernism. In this scene, we have a long period of time with the clock taking dominance. This most likely represents the long lingering scenes in shows like Family Guy. Okay, your comment on them is that they are boring and tedious as hell. That is a great insight. Thank you for challenging me and believing that I could not come to that conclusion myself. Also, almost everyone in the show talks like they're stoned, and I think I know what that one represents. So, the shark gives the mouse his job. This probably represents that in adult cartoons, the protagonist will be allowed to do anything if it gets to a debatably interesting plot. Okay, Mr. Postmodernism, you've created a simulacrum of what you're trying to critique. Now you have to deconstruct that. Oh, what was that? You don't do that? You just bring out the bullet points and go from one to another? Then you fail! Postmodernism is there to challenge you, treat you smartly. It's here to get you to ask why these conventions are put in place. By just taking the bullet points and boiling them down, it treats you like an idiot. That's another thing. Good postmodernist art does not drop every single convention in the art it's trying to comment on, like this show does. If you want me to appreciate the architecture in my own country, you don't drop me in another country where I can't speak the language and I don't know the culture or the customs, and expect me to be thankful for one specific thing. I'll just want to go home. So the mouse, who is supposedly the hero, gets a job, drives the plane drunk, forces someone into a porno, and then robs a bank. You probably have some very insightful commentary, but you don't seem to understand what you're commenting on. Heroes in adult cartoons are almost entirely sociopaths. By making Mouse a sociopath, what are you trying to say about sociopathic heroes? Seriously, this is just point-for-point repetition. You ever see that painting, This Is Not a Pipe? I feel like this is saying, this is not a hero. No shit! In the painting, it was a logical trick that you were supposed to think through. Here it's stating the fucking obvious! In shows like Archer, or Rick and Morty, or Family Guy, or even American Dad, we know the main character isn't heroic or upstanding, or even the most moral person there. He has crippling flaws, and is usually unlikable. And there's generally a reason for that, one that this show does not comment on. But seriously, the whole plotline of this episode is mostly nonsensical. Only if it's by a person who doesn't know how to make postmodern art work, or didn't put much thought into it. If you want to see good postmodern art, I'd recommend the works of Don Hertzfeldt. See his film here, The Meaning of Life? I'll devote a future review to explaining some of this stuff, but you see this film here? It actually comments on the meaning of life, or at least it comments on what people perceive the meaning of life to be, or the quest to figure out the meaning of life, without spoon-feeding you any details. He largely abandons coherent plot. His drawings are simplistic, but it truly does have things to say about people and concepts like forever, and it helps you reach your own conclusions. That is the most important aspect of postmodern art. It helps you reach your own unique conclusions. This just throws random assets in your face. 12-ounce mouse tells me nothing about anything other than itself. Hell, it doesn't even tell me anything about itself. I've said this before, but it feels like someone truly made a bet to see if people would watch something with as little effort as possible. If it really is postmodern, and this is me giving it the benefit of the doubt, it's like Over Two Rainbows with an aura of pretension about itself. Yes, I have watched multiple episodes. As you go onward, I would say that it suffers from continuity lockout, the reason I'm probably not going to review many anime or total drama series, but the whole thing is like a bad hallucination if the hallucination was weeks away from dying a cancerous death. Postmodernism seeks to show that there is no objective or absolute truth in art. It exists to go against conventional wisdoms and established norms. The good ones do this towards unnecessary norms or on wrong wisdoms. There's a common saying in art: you need to know the rules before you can break them. When you know a rule and you understand why it's important, then you can break it and make something like postmodern art. 12-ounce mouse never more or less states the obvious. It's like speaking sign language through a megaphone. Even if you never held a megaphone in your life, never seen anything beyond a photograph of one, you probably know what a megaphone is for. If you try to be like the Looney Tunes and you take out the fluid animation, congratulations, you proved that Looney Tunes had good animation, and you've created a piece of crap that realistically proves nothing. If you purposely try to suck, congratulations, you still suck. There's no grand purpose to sucking either, especially not here. You know, I wonder why internet animation gets such a bad reputation. If someone on the internet made something as bad as this, it'd be as infamous as Sonichu. You put it on TV, everyone says it's really deep and philosophical. I'm done.
I need to go, just as bad as you. What I had this morning, I don't even wanna say to you. Kick, punch, turn, and chop the door.